Let's talk about the science of lazy fat loss. Yeah, you heard me right. It's all about getting lean by working smarter, not just grinding harder.
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels? You're hitting the gym, you're counting every single calorie, but that number on the scale, it just refuses to move? Well, what if I told you all that intense effort is actually the very thing holding you back?
We are about to dive into a totally different way of thinking, and it's all backed by solid science. A way where doing less strategically can get you more results. You ready? Let's get into it.
All right, first things first. We need to talk about what I call the effort fallacy. It's this idea that the fitness world has been drilling into our heads for years, right? That more sweat, more pain, more sacrifice, that's the only way to get results. But what if that's just wrong? What if the most powerful tools for fat loss aren't found in some brutal gym session, but in the super simple, almost lazy things you do every single day? And that brings us to our first huge game changer, literally winning while you're asleep. We all think of sleep as just downtime, right? But the science is clear. It's actually your most powerful fat burning and hormone resetting tool. So to get why, you need to meet two little hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Think of them like the two managers of your appetite. Leptin is the one that tells your brain, hey, we're full. And ghrelin is the one screaming, feed me. When they're balanced, everything's great. When they're not, well, it's a constant fight against your own body. And this is where it gets crazy. Look at how much sleep messes with these guys. Just one bad night of sleep can drop your I'm full hormone, leptin, by 18%. And at the same time, it cranks up your hunger hormone, ghrelin, by a whopping 28%. Your brain is basically being rewired to crave more food. The result of that? It's honestly staggering. In one major study, people who were sleep deprived but on the exact same diet as a rested group lost 55% less fat. Let me say that again, 55% less fat. And what's worse, the weight they did lose wasn't fat. It was precious muscle. Their bodies were literally eating their own muscle and clinging to fat for dear life. Okay, so how do we fix this, right? It's actually pretty simple. Just remember this protocol, 10-3-2-1. 10 hours before bed, no more caffeine. 3 hours before bed, that's your last meal. 2 hours before bed, last big drink of water. And 1 hour before bed, screens off. That's it. It's all about making good sleep a no-brainer. All right, moving on. Let's talk about your new favorite coach, the clock on the wall. Because it turns out that when you eat can be just as critical for fat loss, maybe even more so, than what you're eating. And the science on this is just undeniable. A huge review from 2024 looked at time-restricted eating, just eating in a specific window of time, and found a 98% adherence rate. People actually stick to it. Now compare that to old-school calorie counting, only 62%. The difference is massive. It's just easier for people to do. So what's the lazy magic here? Well, your body has its own internal clock, right? Its circadian rhythm. And because of that, your body is way better at burning calories earlier in the day. In fact, you can burn up to 16% more calories from the exact same meal just by eating it for lunch instead of late at night. How easy is that? Okay, this next part is where we really redefine lazy. I want to tell you about the 2,000 calorie secret. It's all about unlocking a massive calorie burn without ever stepping foot in a gym, using two concepts, NEAT and SIT. First, let's just get a baseline. Think about a typical workout. You go to the gym, you work hard for an hour, and you might burn, what, maybe 300 calories? We're all taught to think that's the big needle mover. But now, look at this. The difference in calorie burn from what's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, can be as high as 2,000 calories a day. That's just from all the little things you do, fidgeting, walking around, standing up instead of sitting. I know, it sounds like nothing, right? But it is a huge deal. Research shows that just fidgeting can burn an extra 350 calories a day. Do the math on that. Over a year, that's like burning off 31 pounds of fat just from tapping your foot. These little movements are your secret weapon. And look, when you do decide to actually exercise, be lazy about it. Be efficient. This chart says it all. Sprint interval training, SIT, it just crushes traditional cardio. You get almost 40% more fat loss in 60% less time. We're talking about just 60 seconds of all-out work a week. That's it. All right, let's switch gears and talk about food, but probably not how you're used to thinking about it. This is about flipping your satiety switch. It's the paradox of how eating more of one thing can help you weigh less, almost without trying. And the key here is protein. It's that simple. Look at this chart. Your body has to work so much harder to digest protein that it burns 20 to 30% of its calories in the process. That's way more than carbs or fat. It's like getting a free metabolic boost with every meal. And here's the coolest part. Your body is smart. It knows what it needs. Studies show that if you don't eat enough protein, your body will literally make you feel hungrier until you do, causing you to eat about 12% more calories overall. So if you just focus on getting enough protein, you'll naturally feel fuller and eat less without even thinking about it. So, what does all of this mean when you put it together? It's about a total shift in your mindset. It's about efficiency. Fat loss isn't supposed to be this epic battle of willpower where you have to suffer. It's about building a smart system of easy habits that work with your body, not against it. And that, right there, is the real secret. The results that actually last don't come from these heroic short-term efforts. They come from creating habits that become so easy, so automatic, they feel lazy. So the real question isn't how hard can you work, it's how smart can you be.
You know, when it comes to high blood pressure, we're always told the same thing: get more exercise. But honestly, that's kind of vague, right? Today, we're going to skip the generic advice. Instead, we're diving deep into a very specific, science-backed way to train that's designed to intelligently tackle hypertension. Let's get into it.
This is the big question we're going to answer today. High blood pressure is a huge issue for so many people. But what if there was a strategic way to work out? A method that actually uses your body's own physiology to its advantage, turning a simple 30-minute session into a powerhouse for your heart health. Well, that's exactly what we're about to break down. Okay, so first, to really get why this method works so well, we have to understand something that feels a little, well, paradoxical about exercise and blood pressure. I know. For anyone worried about hypertension, hearing that exercise raises your blood pressure sounds like the last thing you want. But it's not only natural, it's necessary. Think of your circulatory system like a garden hose. To get water to the flowers way at the back, you gotta crank up the pressure. It's the same thing when you work out. Your muscles are demanding more oxygen, so your heart pumps harder to deliver it. Your body is just doing its job perfectly.
But that temporary spike, that's just the price of admission.
The real benefit, the magic of it all, isn't what's happening during the workout. It's what happens in the hours, even days that come after. After one of these strategic sessions, your body gets to enjoy a sustained drop in blood pressure that can last for up to 2 full days. The workout is the investment, but the real payoff, that comes way after you've cooled down. So, how do we build a workout that's engineered to maximize that incredible post-exercise payoff? Let's take a look under the hood at the specific training engine designed to do exactly that. It's called Peripheral Heart Action, or PHA for short. The name sounds a little complicated, I'll give you that, but the idea behind it is just beautifully simple. It's a method that forces your heart to work smarter, not just harder, by constantly switching back and forth between upper and lower body exercises with no real rest in between. That sequence, that's the whole key. And this is what makes it so different. Think about a standard leg day at the gym. You're basically keeping all the blood concentrated in one area for the whole workout. A PHA workout, on the other hand, turns your body into a full-on circulatory pump. It intentionally sends blood on this long-distance road trip from your legs all the way up to your arms and then right back down again, over and over and over. This constant rerouting of blood is the absolute core of the whole thing. It's a process called blood shunting, and it's the secret sauce that makes this method so incredibly effective for managing your blood pressure. So the whole point is this. We're deliberately making the heart's job more complex. Instead of letting blood just pool in one spot, we're forcing it to travel the entire length of the body. You can think of it like turning your circulatory system from a local bus route into a high-speed cross-country express train.
So let's quickly break down how this blood shunting actually works its magic. By alternating between, say, your legs and your arms, you keep blood from just hanging out in one muscle group. This makes your heart actively pump that blood across a much longer distance. And to handle all that flow, your body has to open up more of its roadways. Your arteries have to dilate or get wider. And what happens when you have wider, more flexible arteries? You get less resistance. And less resistance means lower overall pressure on the whole system. It's just beautiful, elegant physiology at work.
Okay, so that's the science. Pretty cool, right? But how do you actually put it into practice? What does a workout built on these principles actually look like? Let's pull up the blueprint.
The entire workout is built out of these simple, repeatable little blocks. It's a 4-part microcycle. You'll start with 1 minute of cardio, just to get your heart rate going, and then you go immediately into an upper body strength move for about 10 reps. After that, you jump right back into another minute of cardio before you finally take a well-deserved 1-minute rest. This whole structure is designed from the ground up to maximize that blood shunting effect we were talking about.
And here's the best part. You just repeat that little microcycle with different exercises 4 times. That's the whole thing. 4 of those blocks make up your entire 30-minute program. This structure makes it so efficient and super easy to follow. It really takes all the guesswork out of building an effective workout. So you've done the work, you pushed through the 4 blocks, and you've finished your 30-minute session. What happens next? Well, this is where we see the real, lasting payoff for your health. So during the workout, yes, your pressure goes up. That's totally normal. But in the 48 hours that follow, you experience that really significant drop. But the real prize, the long-term win? With consistency, this type of training can actually help lower your baseline resting blood pressure. And that is a massive victory for your overall heart health.
And we are not talking about a tiny, barely noticeable change here. The potential impact is huge. According to the research, the long-term effects of this program can reduce resting blood pressure, and you've got to hear this, in some cases as much as 20 points. 20. That is an absolutely life-changing number.
Which really just leaves us with one final and I think crucial question. The science is solid, the blueprint is clear, and the potential payoff is enormous. We've seen how a smarter, not just harder approach to exercise can fundamentally change your cardiovascular health. So the question you have to reflect on is this. If a strategic 30-minute workout could genuinely change the entire trajectory of your health, what is the true cost of not starting? You know, for years, we've been told one particular story about women, fitness, and aging. But what if that entire story is, well, just wrong? Today, we are tearing up that old playbook and building an entirely new blueprint for lifelong strength. Let's dive in. Think about it. We hear it all the time, don't we? Oh, I'm just getting older. I have to slow down. It feels like this unavoidable truth that we just have to accept. But what if it's not a truth at all? What if you could actually get stronger as the years go by, completely define those expectations? So this is the core idea right here. We're flipping the script completely. It's not about damage control anymore or just managing a slow decline. The goal is to build. It's about forging a body that's resilient, powerful, and ready for whatever life has in store. whether you're 50, 70, or even older. All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll bust that slowing down myth wide open. Then we're going to construct 3 powerful pillars: a bone fortress, your own suit of muscle armor, and a way to supercharge your brain. We'll also cover the essential fuel you need to power it all, and then we'll wrap up with a practical blueprint you can actually start using.
For way too long, the fitness advice given to women has been, well, kinda lame. Just do some gentle cardio, maybe lift some tiny weights. But that stuff just doesn't cut it. It doesn't trigger the real, deep hormonal and structural changes your body needs to stay strong for life.
And this is where exercise physiologist Dr. Stacy Sims just hits the nail on the head. She basically says we have to completely reboot our brains and forget everything we thought we knew up until now. The old playbook is out. It's time for a new strategy, one that's actually designed for a woman's physiology.
Okay, let's get into pillar 1. Think of your body like a house. What's the most important part? The foundation, right? For us, that foundation is our bones. And we're not just trying to stop them from getting weaker. No, we are actively working to build a dense, resilient, unbreakable fortress.
And here's why this is so critical. Look at this number. A woman can lose up to 1/3 of her bone mass around menopause if she's not doing anything specific about it. That isn't a small crack in the foundation. That is a massive structural problem just waiting to happen.
So what's the answer? It's not more walking. The solution is jump training. And I need to be really clear here. We're not talking about landing like a feather. The entire point is the impact. That jolt is like a direct signal to your skeleton, telling it, hey, we need to build more bone right now.
And get this, the time commitment is surprisingly small. We're talking about 10 minutes, just 3 times a week. That's it. But the results are astounding. Research shows this kind of training can actually reverse osteopenia. That's the step right before osteoporosis, and get you back to normal bone density in just a few short months. Incredible.
All right, so our bone fortress is secure. Now it's time for pillar 2, the muscle armor. This is all about lifting heavy things. And trust me, the benefits go way beyond just getting stronger. This is one of the most powerful levers we can pull to take control of our metabolic health. The fitness world can be so obsessed with how things look, but we need to change that mindset. The real magic of lifting heavy isn't about getting a certain look. It's about the intense stress it creates. That stress is the powerful catalyst that triggers amazing adaptations all through your body, from your metabolism to your brain. But you can't just go through the motions. How you lift is absolutely key. This means lifting heavy enough that you actually reach muscular failure. It means periodizing your training, changing things up so your body never gets too comfortable. The idea is to constantly vary the stimulus, so you're always forcing it to adapt and grow stronger.
Now for pillar 3, and this one is a real game changer because it connects what we do physically directly to the health of our brain. This is about using true all-out intensity to protect and even enhance our cognitive function as we get older.
The science here is just wow. When you push your body to its absolute limit, your muscles produce something called lactate. For years, we thought it was just a waste product. Turns out, it's basically rocket fuel for the brain. Giving your brain this lactate bath helps fight off cognitive decline and may even reduce the kind of plaque buildup linked to Alzheimer's.
Okay, this brings us to a super important distinction. We hear the term HIIT all the time, but not all intensity is the same. What we need for this brain benefit is actually sprint interval training, or SIT. With HIIT, you might be going at 80% effort for a few minutes. With SIT, you're going at 110%, an absolutely all-out effort for 30 seconds or less, followed by a long, full recovery. That's the specific stimulus that creates that brain-boosting lactate.
And you can do this in a bunch of ways. It could be a 30-second maximal effort sprint on an exercise bike or a rower. It could be going crazy with battle ropes. The specific tool doesn't matter nearly as much as the absolute peak intensity you bring to the effort. So these three training pillars are incredibly powerful, but they are useless without the right support system. This brings us to a kind of unofficial fourth pillar, fuel. Without the right building blocks, your body simply cannot rebuild and adapt from all the positive stress we're creating.
And the number one building block here is protein. The target recommended by Dr. Sims is about 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, which works out to roughly 1 gram per pound. Now I know, for many women that number sounds incredibly high, but it is precisely what is needed to trigger muscle protein synthesis, the actual process of repairing and building new muscle tissue.
Okay, so we have our pillars and we have our fuel source. So now let's see how this all comes together in a practical, real-world weekly blueprint.
A smart schedule might look something like this. Notice how the different pillars are spread out. You've got 2 dedicated days for heavy lifting, for that muscle armor. 1 day is reserved for that all-out sprint interval training for your brain. Then you can stack your jump training for bone density with a HIIT session on another day. And just as important, you build in active recovery days to let your body adapt. That part is non-negotiable. And this quote just perfectly captures the whole philosophy. At the end of the day, that's what we're after. The heavy lifting, the all-out sprints, the impact from jumping, it's all designed for one purpose: to create a strong external stress that forces powerful adaptations through your entire system. So, we've laid out the science and the strategy. This isn't some quick fix. It's a fundamental shift in how to approach a lifetime of health and strength. The blueprint is now in your hands. The only question left is, how are you going to start building?